So, guys, I want to talk about AEW, and I really, really think that they need to strike while the iron is hot and do a women's blood and guts match, even if it's something where they have to do it in one, ring, because I know that, like with the lights out match with the lights out match, they had to do it a little differently because of the layout of the O2 arena. And I also think that, if they're kind of like, oh, we don't want to do blood and guts because it's like a war games where we have two rings or whatever. Fuck it, let's just change it up a little bit. And there's a lot of reasons why they need to have women's blood and guts this year. That first of all, you want to be counterculture to the WWE. So when people watch AEW, you're gonna see like all these badass, hardcore, unapologetic, line crossing women. When you watch WWE, you're gonna have the return of AJ Lee, which is riding on nostalgia, and then also you're gonna like say, hey, you know what? It's CM Punk and It's CM Punk and AJ Lee. It's Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. Really, like it's nostalgia, and they're using the N word. Nostalgia, 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 nostalgia. And then I also will say that is that it's either nostalgia or using women differently. And I'd say like look at the knockouts division in TNA. Like what made it popular was that they were using profanity. You had different women of different sizes. Like you had Awesome Kong, a big black woman, because obviously there was a lot of racism in professional wrestling, and then also bigger women didn't get pushed back then because that was still when they wanted, the porn star type of model really. So when you have when you just do things differently, they stand out. The other thing too is that I don't think they've ever had a pay-per-view with women main eventing. So like I said, what would happen if you had these women main event the show? Because they're obviously gonna like try to counter main event, what you're gonna do in WWE, because they may do a counter main event of AJ of the the couple versus couple tag team match, or you can do something like have the main event be for the world heavyweight title, or you can do something like something else like Darby Allin versus Moxley or something like that. But it's a good counter. I would also kind of say that the other big thing about this is that this resets the women's division, because you have 5 women versus 5 women, and AEW has really just hurt the women's division because it's really about Mercedes Moné, number 1, number 2 Toni Storm, and number 3 questionably is Athena. But you need to say, hey, here are all these women, here are all these new people, we can do something. Like I said, what would happen if you had Mozilla join the company? What would happen if you have Alex Windsor in this? What would happen if you have Billy Starks in this? Because, it should be Bill Starks versus Athena. What would happen if you have LFI and they say, we're going to... What happens if you have Thunder Rosa, and then Thunder Rosa turns heel, and then she joins LFI, really? That could be something as well, really. So I think that, like I said, it does a lot more positive than negatives. And I also think the other thing, too, is that you need big matches. And there is... And that's a big match, really. And I don't need to kind of dissect that, really. Outside of it's the first women's blood and guts match, it also says to the audience, blood and guts is a pay-per-view match. And that's what it needs to be. It is not a match that's appropriate for television. Because it's just like they had a Hell in a Cell match, and they always said, oh, well, we're going to just do this during the summer on a television show. No, you have Hell in a Cell be a pay-per-view. Imagine if you had The Undertaker throw Mick Foley, Mankind over the Hell in a Cell, off the Hell in a Cell, and you had that on Monday Night Raw, really. Yeah, during the Attitude Era, that would be fire, really, but you should not have that match on a regular show. You should have that on a pay-per-view. Or, for example, we do Brock Lesnar versus John Cena one last time in a Hell in a Cell. Would you want to do that at WrestlePalooza Premium Live Event, or would you want to do that at a pay-per-view, or would you want to do that at a special pay-per-view like Survivor Series or WrestleMania? It's when you use that example. That's why Blood and Guts is not an appropriate match. It's a not appropriate match to have that for a regular television show. It's an appropriate match to have that on a pay-per-view. So this evolves that stipulation. The next thing that I will say, about this is also that there is a story with this because Aminata and Tekla are fighting. All the women are fighting each other. They're kind of pissed with each other. There's a triangle of madness. There's Aminata and her people. There's Alex Windsor, whose husband is out on surgery. You incorporate so many different people. Like I said, you can throw Thunder Rosa and make her join LFI really because they're trying to expand. And a lot of the groups that you have don't have women. Like what would happen if you had Nyla Rose come back and then she joins the Don Callis family, or she joins the Hurt Syndicate? What would happen if you do that exact same thing with another woman that's been out for a long time? Really, what would happen if you have Ruby Soho, join another group? Really, join the Death Riders? Or what would happen if you have Marina Shafir in this? Because what would happen if there's an announcement that says the winner of this match, whoever causes like the victory for their team, faces Tony Storm at Wrestle Dream, and the person who had the most standout performance is going to face by the picking of Mercedes Moné is going to face Mercedes Moné at Wrestle Dream. And what would happen if you had Mercedes and Tony Storm? You kind of talked to them. You had Bryan Danielson. You made them all on the announce table, and they were all reporting this match to talk about the next opponent, talk about what they're doing, talk about like, what, I see something in that person, so I want to have a match with them. Like this is all just storytelling for Wrestle Dream, so that's important really. So I just think that the way to go, the way to kind of get people talking, the way to cause some intrigue is to do a women's blood and guts match. This is the right time to do it. And if they save it for the ECW arena next week, fuck them. If they save it for a show in like West Virginia or whatever show they're going to do after in whatever state, fuck them for that, because this is the right time to do this. This is the right time, and I'm demanding Tony Khan to do this. If he's not doing this, at that show, then fuck him, because this is something that would draw a lot of attention. And a lot of eyes would be on the product, really. So let's hope that Tony Khan, he stops that Mary Jane, and actually does women's blood and guts. Because, if he wants to think like a businessman and not be with daddy's money, and he wants to be a businessman, he will definitely be doing that. Cocaine's a hell of a drug, but sometimes you got to get off the Ashley Larry.